It's the offer that makes it to closing, the one that closes, not the highest offer.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking with Stephanie from the Johnson team with Service First Mortgage. She helps over 500 families with the loan process every year, and she's a wonderful resource that our team loves to use. We brought Stephanie in today just to talk about ways that we can win buyer contracts in the current market.
So first off, thank you guys for having me on. Always great to see y'all and work some deals with you guys and do everything we can to get buyers under contract. So everyone over here at the Herd Group does everything and anything that they can to give their buyers the best advice so that we can win the first time, hopefully, or make sure that you guys get the contract that you are wanting on the house that you find. So we rethought a lot of this here recently, and we have gone back to the drawing board of anything and everything we can do to get contracts accepted. And one of the very first things that I remind buyers is what you have to do today is so different than even 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and especially a couple years ago. So even if you've purchased a home, the environment and the level of what listing agents and sellers are looking for is so different. So I wanted to go through, if you're a buyer looking to purchase a home, what steps should you take and what is the difference between what, say, lender A versus B versus C does? And then really for you guys, what you're looking at when you get a contract coming in as a listing agent, and which ones you're going to say, no, sorry, I'm not going to go here. And maybe look at the other ones that say, this is a great offer. I like this one, and get us pulled to the top.
Right. So in this market, more than ever, I think it's super important that as a buyer, we put ourselves in the seller's shoes.
Yes.
Whereas before, it's like, what can I gain for myself? Unfortunately, now it's more towards what can I give the seller? How can I convince the seller that I am the best owner, that I'm going to be the best buyer for them? And that is what I think really is going to be the point of this video, and just teaching our buyers that, look, now it's not about, can I come in under asking? Can I just fill out the application and then go and see 10 homes and I'll get, and I get to choose. No, it's now, what does a seller want from me?
And I think the one thing I try to always remind buyers, it's not the highest offer and it's not always dollars and cents. It's choosing the offer that's going to close. So if you're the seller or the listing agent and you are looking at, again, so many variables of the contract. So I cannot stress it enough, using a lender that understands this and a realtor that is professional and is a full-time agent that writes good contracts is more important than it has ever been in history. So please listen, guys, and do those things. Yeah. And I think you guys would agree with that.
Yes.
No, absolutely. I tend to be the pessimist in our conversation. So I'm gonna start off with a bad example of what not to do, of what lenders not to work with, right? So right now, unfortunately, I'm working with a lender. This is a lender that my buyer had already worked with. They were kind of like, well, my parents are using them, so I want to use them. I'm like, okay, we'll do this. Believe me, if it was up to me, we would be working with you, Miss Stephanie. But anyways, we were supposed to close yesterday on the home. And now we've extended until Friday. And if we don't close on Friday, we may not even be able to close because the sellers just they need to close. So what does that say to them? That scares the seller. That's what you do not want in this market, because we have no leverage as a buyer. We know that if we lose this house, there's 10 other people in line waiting to buy this home.
Right.
Yep.
All because the lender, their lender, couldn't get it together.
Deliver. And I think that's one of the biggest things. So I would say we're going to talk a little bit about the differences between letters and how far you need to go in the process, and then also reputation. So I can say that, since I've been in my company for 7.5 years, I've never had a loan denied. And I'm serious when saying that. And these girls will look at one's like, really? I'm like, and we close 500 a year. So that's a lot of people. So if we've told someone that they can make an offer on a home, we live up to our words, and the real estate community knows that. And that's one of the reasons that we're not in that situation where we have a missed closing, or I've told someone that they can go sell a house and move in somewhere and then they can't. We just don't play that game. It's just not in my vocabulary. So some of the things that happen though along the way is I won't issue any letter that I know isn't going to get to closing. So that right there is going to say, Mr. Listing Agent, like you see my name, we know what we're doing and we're going to get it done, especially with our company. The other thing is there's a misconception that everyone needs their letter to say the word pre-approval. And yes, that is correct, but a lot of lenders use the word pre-approval without it actually being pre-approved. So I can take a Word document and write the word pre-approval on it, and it can be, again, maybe not compliant, like the lender shouldn't have been doing that, but they haven't verified anything. So what the listing agents are doing now is they're making sure, okay, with this offer, what has actually been done? So they're looking at the writing on the letter. So when someone calls to get their process started, they first off give me verbal information. So they're saying, hey, Stephanie, I work here. I make this much money. I have this much in the bank. If you're W-2'd and salary, that might have been enough to get an offer accepted even 6 months ago. Now, the letter specifically says in the state of Texas, is it written or is it verbal? Have you turned in your documents? If I give a listing agent a letter that says that you haven't turned in your documents, they're already looking like you're not vested enough. Not that you might not qualify, but you're not vested enough to turn the stuff into your lender now. Why? Like they're not, it doesn't work. So we've had it where listing agents have called and we've given buyers say, hey guys, I know you really didn't believe me, but this listing agent is calling me and saying, why aren't you turning in your docs? You got to turn them in like 30 minutes or I'm gonna have to call them back and say, you literally haven't turned them in.
Right. So, and I'm sorry, but I think as a buyer, that's everything that they don't see, right? So we as agents, we ask our buyers, how much do you want to offer? These are the terms. What do you think? Should we do this? Should we do that? And then adjust it to whatever their needs are. After that, there's so much more that goes on when you're submitting an offer that the buyer never sees, which is I'm writing a love letter to the seller and to the seller's agent specifically. I'm CCing the lender. I'm calling the lender and saying, hey, we're writing offers. Be ready to phone these calls because the seller is going to call you to make sure that this buyer is pre-approved and ready to go. So there's so much more going on the back end that involves the lender that the buyer never sees.
And if I don't have the documents because I'm supposed to call the lender, I can't really vouch for a buyer that hasn't turned stuff in. And that's where when a lender says we need stuff, that's the why, because I'm going to get asked that question and it just doesn't make the offer sound great if we haven't verified anything because we've asked. And as well as it's going to speed up your closing turn time if I have everything. So you got to do it anyways. Let's just get it. It's easy peasy stuff. Let's turn it in.
Yeah. And I think we're not just vetting the buyer. We're vetting the buyer. We're vetting the buyer's agent. So they're vetting us as well. How responsive are you? Can you answer my questions? Are your vendors that you've worked with in the past? I get asked this a million times. Are you familiar with this lender? Yes, no. Yeah. And then we're vetting our lenders. So it's a package that we're selling here. And that a third of that package is our lender, and we need to sell it as best as we can, because if we don't have the most amount of money, then we better be strong on every other term.
And that's why, especially when I'm submitting offers in my email, it gives a detailed list of, hey, these are my preferred vendors. I've been working with them for
a long time.
And for 30 years.
Quantitative, I don't know. A lot.
But yes, I'm explaining who you are, how long I've been working with you, and why this is going to be the better offer, even if it may not be the strongest offer.
Well, and some of the things that I've learned is having that connection that they need to, know that we know what we're doing. And so when those come in, that, like Joanna said, having the lender and the buyer on the same page with, or the buyer, the agent and the buyer or lender cannot speak today on the same page here. Is that one of the worst things I can say as a listing agent is when an offer goes in and the lender doesn't know about it, or it's an out-of-state lender where they don't communicate, and the listing agent can see that the lender didn't know the right terms, didn't know what was happening, and they aren't on the same page. They didn't verify the closing date. They can't back up what's made in that offer. And I was talking to some agents the other day, and they said they used the word unexecutable. And I said, well, that's good terms. What do you mean? And they said, what is the percentage on every listing of contracts that come in are unexecutable, meaning that the terms are probably not going to get met? So was there, the letter wasn't documented. The buyer really didn't qualify for that amount. They couldn't close in that turn time. They waived the appraisal, but they didn't have the money to do it. So when they went to verify all the offers that got thrown out simply because the agent and the lender didn't have all these things done, which is the polar opposite of what you guys do. That's why it's so, so, so important. And some buyers don't realize that that's why they lost their offers, because their agent didn't put in a good one. And just based on terms, not on amount that you offered.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate how many buyers right now I'm talking to who they've already fired their agent because they've lost on homes. And I'm 100% positive that it wasn't because they didn't have the offer, the right offer terms.
Exactly.
So specifically though, okay, so I'm now telling my buyer, here's the application, but be prepared with this, and this. Because previously it was like, here's the application, fill it out. As soon as we get that letter, let's go shopping. And no, I'm not, there's no point in us falling in love with 10 homes if we can't write a strong offer.
Yeah. And we can get it done quick. So
yes.
One, you can get started and applied. Now, if you're have a little bit more going on or self-employed, which we do all the time, you'll know, be prepared. There's a little bit more to do up front. But if you apply, you grab all your documents, you have them. So the biggest thing is people, where everything is to turn in, right? Then we can still pull off those super quick qualification. But if we rip that Band-Aid off, get it all done up front, best thing. The next part of this, that's something we just launched that we even said, look, like what else can we do to just be that much better than every other lender or make our buyers win and stand out that much more. And we changed our process that we will now also go all the way through underwriting, which normally happens after you get a contract. So normally you get a purchase contract based on a specific house. You then submit your loan in underwriting, and you guys put in what you call a third-party financing for those of y'all contract. I'm not the agent, they'll explain that. But then you need to get your loan approved during that time. Well, the longer that third-party financing is, the less likely that you're going to get an offer. In the first group, we were getting our third-party financing days down to 3, 5, like really short, when some the internet lenders were wanting 21 to 30 days, and we're doing it in 3. So number one, we're way quicker. Then we said, what if we do it before clients make offers? Well, what if we can put 0 days financing on contracts? So we moved it where if a client, certain loan files, and they turn everything in and they opt to go through our qualification, full underwrite vetting process before you guys go forward, then you can put in a contract with no financing contingency at all. And then we guarantee the closing date of 19 calendar days, not business, but calendar days. And we'll pay the seller $200 a day, up to $2,000 if we miss that date. So like 19 days is super quick. And really the only reason it's 19 is because I need appraisals and inspections, right? And then if you have no financing contingency, our goal is we want to be able to compete with those cash offers.
Yeah. And I've had 2 buyers whose the listing agent told me directly, it is because of this seller guarantee that your lender has provided that we chose your offer. We were not the highest. We did not offer $50,000 over asking, and we got the homes because of that seller guarantee. So I am so excited to be able to have that and to be able to provide that to my buyers and say, hey, look, maybe we don't have the most amount of money, but we're working with this awesome lender, and those terms are going to get you in the house. And that's what matters at the end of the day.
Because again, it's the offer that makes it to closing, the one that closes, not the highest offer.
So I know that we've covered a lot, but if you all have any questions, or if you as a listing agent has any questions as to who Stephanie's team is and what they do in order to make our buyers that much stronger, please feel free to reach out to any of us at any time. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and comment below if you learned anything, if you want us to talk about a certain topic, or if you just want to provide some feedback. We'd love to chat with you about any questions you may have.
We'll see you next time. I don't like that.